just to go with faces, or
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw it up here and
start
then
it? Okay.
then we can take it off
Okay.
as we need to.
I have the agenda also on my other screen, and
Okay.
I'm going to be taking notes on a real-time basis to move forward with the report.
Okay. And so we're recording. Okay. So this is the Palm Springs Sustainability Commission Standing Committee on Solar and Green Building. It is December 1st, 10:34 a.m. And I will turn it over to David Friedman.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Patrick. Looks like we're all here, Commissioner Flanagan and myself. So Patrick, I'm going to let you lead forward with the various council agenda items, and then I'll chime in as necessary and appropriate. But, you've got
Okay.
pretty much the sort of the direct contact into where we're going, particularly for the December 10th meeting.
All right. So I am excited to report that I do believe that the EV charger expansion, or I'm sorry, not the expansion, the streamlined permitting, the AB 1236 implementation is on the agenda for December 10th.
Okay.
So I did talk to David Reddy about it yesterday, and he seemed to think it was going to make it.
Okay.
So, you know, who knows between now and then, but it looks like it'll be on.
Okay, and you have everything you need from me in terms of the staff report, the revisions, and just getting in that update on the last state regulation on handicap spaces, EV spaces count as two. So that just sort of, you know, adding it in. And I think with that, we'll be at least current with all the state requirements. At least in terms of legislation, as I said, once that's done, I'll start working on the materials on the website, which as you looked are kind of confusing as to what's a checklist, what isn't.
Yeah.
So I'll start working on that probably once to do that. And what I'll do, Patrick, once we get, if it's okay, assuming that this is on the agenda when it gets posted on Thursday evening, Friday or the weekend, I'll send you a very quick public comment in support, just saying is that, you know, please do this, and you know, we're kind of late from the state, but let's do it. And also that'll, you know, be helpful for the city as one of its various climate action sustainability goals. So I'll prepare a quick public comment for you to look at on Monday.
Okay. Sounds good. And yeah, everything is in there. So it was all ready to go last time, but I just changed the date.
Okay.
Wait, which agenda item is this? A3?
This is 3. Yeah, we sort of skipped ahead. So
Okay.
Sorry. In terms of the climate action roadmap, I sent another note to our consultants yesterday about getting some data back from them, and unfortunately I still don't have anything from them. I basically told them at this point, if we still have no idea when we're going to get the VMT data, the updated VMT data, that we should just go and forward with whatever best information we have, and we can update it down the road if we need to. But I'm honestly a little bit sick of waiting. I can't believe that it's almost 2021 and they don't have 2018 VMT data. So I'm a little baffled about why that is, but I know it's out of their hands, so it's not an issue with them. It's just a little frustrating that it's whatever data source that is isn't up to date. So
you know what the data source is? Is it Caltrans or somebody or SCAG or?
I think it's not. It might be SCAG.
Okay.
Or the county. It's one of those two.
All right.
Wait, this is Ghd Inventory update?
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of related to the climate action roadmap because we were waiting for the Ghd Inventory
to go into the, okay.
Update the climate action roadmap. Yes.
Okay, so I guess you'll give us an update at the commission meeting, but because this has just been, I mean, it's pushed sort of discussion of the climate action roadmap out, and you know, at some point we need to, particularly we've got new council being sworn in, I think we need to show up in January, you know, with something so that we can, you know, get direction on these other things, and
right.
They can kind of, I mean, there's some data, as you know, when city council adopted, which is another state requirement, there may be some data, or you can just refer to it, is that when the council approved in the planning update, or there was an ordinance, I think from the summer, where they decided to have, well, they had to move for CEQA reports to VMT, because that's a requirement of state law for at least CEQA reports have to be made. So they're maybe under using VMT as opposed to level of service. And so the city's using level of service for, I think, some local projects and VMT for others. So maybe there's some data that you can get from that.
So the
Okay.
plan is to, what I told them to do was, I told them that we are having our meeting on September 15th, and I would like everything that they've got for that meeting. So
Okay.
my plan is to present something at the December Sustainability Commission meeting, even if it has a gap in it.
Okay.
So we'll see how far they're able to get by the 15th.
Okay, so assuming that you will have something enough, that will be, yeah, and then we can work together in sort of after the commission meeting between then and January to see what, I'll, work on with you on going back to the climate action roadmap of, what the, what changes might be necessary just to integrate that into the staff report, and then to note, what progress we need to make. Because I assume there'll be some data, but that's probably worth highlighting in the staff report, assuming that it's probably going to show the 2018 is reasonably close to 2010. And then with the whatever's happening with DCE, they're extrapolating with that. They're going to have to get, I assume they're working with Ghd and Benjamin just to get some guesstimate of what the DCE change is going to be. Obviously, that's a moving target with opt-downs and opt-outs, but
Right.
I
And
guess
actually, DCE is actually working on that right now because
okay.
Mayor asked for that as part of his State of the City address for Thursday.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I think I've registered for it. I have to go check on that to make sure that I've registered for that. Thank you for the reminder on that. Okay, so the objective remains getting the climate action roadmap to council sometime in January. Is that there, or be early next year? Is or that the
Yes.
objective? I mean,
Yep.
obviously, council agendas will be, fluid as we know, but at least get it in the pipeline to, not necessarily David, whoever is going to be city manager, acting city manager, starting.
Yeah, and as soon as we have that package together, I need to work with them because I got a lot of pushback on, well, we need time to think about this and time to let them know this is coming. So I don't exactly know what that means. So
Okay. All right, well, maybe you can send the current drafts and then because that's other than the GHG update, and then I'll discuss a little bit later, but there are various, I'll have an update on the Energy Commission websites, onto webinars in the next couple of days. So there's a bunch of webinars that are occurring in the next couple of days, and I'll do a report back to the commission at in the December meeting. Sorry about that. Somebody's calling me and I'm putting it on screen. Sorry about that. I know what that is.
Can I ask a question about the the climate action roadmap?
yeah,
This isn't a place we can insert my parking plan, is it? To encourage, to investigate the options of non-subsidized parking, or?
yeah, no, it could go in there. It's got other things like that in there about things we might consider to, down the road.
But not at this point. We can insert it later. Is that what you're saying?
You can
Perhaps,
insert it now if you want. Yeah, David's been updating it with little things here and there, and I've been trying to keep it current. So I can send you the latest draft. And actually, did we send that around? I can't remember.
David, do you think that this might be a better place than the general plan to insert something like the parking question?
It can be, it's kind of both, just because it is an issue in the general, it's kind of already teed up in the general plan, but it's fair to note it at least in the staff report, and we can look to see whether there's I think it's a good hook to put it into the staff report, and maybe a paragraph as well into the some of the climate action roadmap. Hold on here. Sorry, all the workmen keep calling me today. Just a second. Yeah, hold on.
Gosh, I don't even have multiple lines. So,
Yeah.
Patrick, I was thinking something like the language on the lines of the city should investigate the transition to fee-based parking in the downtown core. I don't really want, they know more about parking than I do, but I just like the idea of investigating the transition to some fee-based parking.
Yeah, we could include that.
Okay.
Okay. I'll Patrick, when we work on it probably after the commission meeting, because that's probably the better time frame, because we'll have the GHG. Jim, I'll insert basically that sentence. I'll work with Patrick, and we'll get a sentence, and I think we should still sort of say is that, this is a topic for the general plan update, but the city should investigate, kind of just copying what you just said, is the city should investigate.
Okay, and I see you've got a bullet, there's already a bullet there that says develop options for reducing local transportation related emissions. So it would either be within that or below that or something like that, but it seems to be congruent with that.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right. We're kind of jumping around, but since Jim, you just brought up that, do you have anything else to add on the, and we'll go back to the other stuff, but do you have anything else to add on the parking structure? Are you still gonna have more information for the?
Oh yeah, no, I do have a couple. I have some minor things that we're going to do that really quick.
All right, you want to do that, or you go back to sort of where we were? We're kind of jumping around, but
let's finish where we were. I thought we were at climate action roadmap, which is the first agenda item.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back on that. That's basically where we were, and then we'll go to the thing here. So, all right. So objective is, work with, senior city staff to get it onto council agenda early next year. DCE is looking at the GHG emissions, and that'll go into the mayor's state of the city, and once again, I need to register for that. And add sentence, the parking. And that's basically, and then I'll work with you, Patrick, on doing the update. DF work with PT on update following 12:15 commission meeting. And as I said, I will integrate the various webinars that are happening in the next week or two with the Energy Commission. Okay, is that it for climate action roadmap?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll add one minor thing. I'm not sure if it's part of this under here, but a friend of mine, Paul Ortega, I don't know if you know Paul, but he's just appointed to the board of the water district.
Yeah.
And he says they're actively going to look at another wastewater treatment plant and capturing the energy for it. So that there's a little bit of parallel overlap there. And I said we're interested in that as well. And he said we need to sit down and talk. So I'll try to get more information from him, but I think they want to expand the amount of recycled water they're using. Can
you say that again? I'm sorry, I didn't understand it.
So Paul Ortega he's newly appointed to the board of the Coachella Valley Water District.
No, DWA. DWA. He'll be sworn in next week or at the next meeting. They just finished their on the. I guess he'll be sworn in next week or officially at the December 15th meeting. He
told me that they're looking at expanding the amount of recycled water that they're going to be generating, and within that scope, they're also looking at capturing waste to energy for the wastewater treatment plant. So they're actively pursuing that area. And I know there's just some overlap here. So this is just an FYI.
All right. It's because I attend the meetings. It's a whole big issue.
Okay.
with the wastewater, with the recycled water in particular, and what they need to do. And then, well, Patrick, you were on the very long call, the special meeting. So that's basically the last time this was discussed, at least at the board level. So I haven't heard about the energy stuff, but Patrick, you're aware of the rather complicated issues with the recycled water and the city's plant and everything like that.
Well,
So,
and I was actually under the impression that they were going the opposite direction with regard to recycled water because there's no market for it.
that's sort of where that's what I understand, and in particular, the tribe where I'm seeing all the water is coming through have stopped using recycled water, and I think they're just using, they're just literally drilling it up from underneath our land here and using that for the golf courses. So that was a rather large chunk of the recycled water. So
I thought there wasn't enough recycled water for the golf courses.
no, it's now particularly now it's the opposite. I mean, I don't want to get too much off the agenda because that's more a water issue than the energy issue. But the answer is that the problem is that right now there are not enough people. When the tribe stopped their contract at the beginning of the year or in the spring, I guess the contract term ended and they didn't renew it. So the tribe is no longer using recycled water for these golf courses here and is basically just using groundwater. So
sounds like a rate issue to me, but I'll go ahead.
well, you'll hear more about for that is my water conservation, because that was just discussed at the DWA.
Okay, sorry to distract you guys.
I'll report back on that, but yeah, we'll continue to follow what's going on there. Okay, Patrick, you want to move on to EV charger and whether that's also going to be on the council agenda for the 10th?
It will not be. I should get the scope, their revised scope today. Our lawyers are looking at the agreement. Looks like they want to make a fair number of changes to it. So we'll see how that all evolves.
Okay, so you'll present that you'll have something to present to the commission on the 5th?
Yeah, I should have something to present to the commission. I would like to make sure that if the scope is different than what kind of we initially envisioned, that it comes back to them for approval.
Okay, and then that way that can get onto the council agenda towards the beginning of the year, but with the benefit of commission sort of vetting. Okay.
And Patrick, can I ask a question? Are there any non-Tesla charging slots in the museum parking lot underground? Because I went looking the other day and in my electric car and I couldn't find any. I thought there were.
No, there are none down there right now. That was the first place that we were gonna try to put them. When Tesla put in their charging, they basically took all of the power. So
right, but I thought that there was that Edison expanded the vaults, and is there any pending ones? Because I just thought I couldn't find them.
We have to expand them if we want to add chargers. So that's been part of the holdup with that particular location.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So that'll be part of the scope, is including putting in non-Tesla chargers.
Yeah, and we have a little bit of funding for a fast charger there too. So, but I think they're gonna proposing 4 fast chargers and however many level 2s we want. So
okay, and that's part of the Cal EVIP funding. Skip, which is, I guess, skip is what our sort of the local Southern California, whatever version of it. Okay.
And do you know if the Electrify America chargers at Rabobank have gone active yet, or are they still on hold?
they're still on hold, and I still don't know why. So I'm gonna try to get in touch with them again. See.
Yeah, if we could help them, I mean, within the city.
I don't think it has anything to do with us. I think it's their process.
Well, the product is also, I think, a little ahead of the market too. So
yes. So it could be an issue with that, honestly, because it's the first time that they are using those chargers.
But they have a mix of 350 kW, and then they have the 50 and 100. I would hope, but
they're all superchargers, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is what's supposed to be the Rabobank. That's now where at the
It's Bank of America is where they are.
okay. The Bank of America here at Smoke Tree.
South Palm Canyon.
Yeah. I
No,
guess
not
oh,
Smoke
the
Tree.
one downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
where Indian and Palm come together.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. That. Okay. Right downtown. What I call the Palm Springs version of Corbusier. It's the picture growing building. Okay. Okay. So B of A fast chargers. Okay. So Patrick, you'll look in to see if there's anything that can be done to assist, because that's just a private project. That's not the city project, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Just assure us that we're not waiting for a city permit or something that got held up that we can help them with.
No. got
Okay.
nothing to do
All
with
right.
that.
Well, that sounds good. Just checking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And that will help. Having that ordinance passed will help with the permitting no matter what. Okay. All right. Moving along. Sustainability scholarship.
Yeah, so we have been updating our city website, not very successfully, I would say. And so we're supposed to be moving to that today. So we will put the scholarship information up on the new site. I was sort of holding back because I wasn't sure what was happening with this website. So as soon as that's all ready to go, then I'll send a note out and we'll send a press release, et cetera. So, so that'll go out along with the assessment funding.
Does that require council approval, or do you have, because it's already funds budgeted, you don't need to go to council? Because I think you were originally going to put that to council approval.
Yeah, so I got a couple of different stories on it, and then ultimately they said since the money was already allocated, then we can use it however we want to use it.
Okay, fine. So no need for council approval. Obviously, you already have commission approval. So we've appropriated the funds, and because the city council has appropriated that in our budget, then it's, you know, so it's our decision, and we've already, meaning the commission's already done the appropriation.
Right.
Okay, all right, that's good news then. So
Hey, David or Patrick, what was there talk about mentoring with that sustainability scholarship?
Mentoring?
Or was that another discussion entirely? Okay, never mind. Somehow I thought they're looking for mentoring opportunities within the commission, but I'm confused.
No.
okay, so this is the thing. Okay. So you'll have something that should be up and out, sort of publicized between now and the commission meeting. So you can,
yes, definitely, and probably before the council meeting so that we can announce it.
okay, great. All right, announce it. Okay, there's still a hook. Okay, announce at council meeting. So you can do that in a staff, presentation right at the beginning of the meeting then. That's good, and you'll do that. And then once that's up and running, I'll liaise with Benjamin in particular to make sure that there's a sort of flag on the DC website. There's already something about a kind of EPA-ish self-assessment that you can do that's on the landing page for DC that I just looked at a short time ago. So I'll coordinate with Benjamin once that's up and running. DF coordinate with DC. Okay. All right, GHG, okay, so nothing further to discuss on the GHG. Move forward, present at 12:15 meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, general plan update. Anything new, because you were going to grab,
So they are, they did have a call this morning. The Main Street call was focused on that topic, but they have not done anything more on that. They got some feedback today, but it wasn't particularly focused. So I think they're still in the feedback gathering process. I
Okay,
did,
there was a, yeah, and there was
the
a,
only thing that they did talk about
Yeah.
At that meeting this morning that was somewhat relevant to our work is that they did talk about the perhaps the transition to be more pedestrian and bike focused in the downtown area as opposed to car focus. And so there was a little bit of debate about that, but anyway, but nothing really concrete.
and there was, I only got to the first couple of minutes of it, the chamber also had a presentation. I know Watson, there was a presentation with the chamber sponsored also on the general plan update, but I didn't catch all of that. So you're gonna wait, because we've got a bit of a standby ad hoc working group among the commissioners, but you're gonna wait until after there's a little bit more further update from the planning side before convening us. Is that
Actually, I am going to convene us before the next commission meeting. So I was gonna convene us next week.
Okay, great.
And just talk about all the various planning things that are out there that seem to be connected. So I wanted to just kind of lay that out and talk through that. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. All right. Looking forward to that. All right, Jim, I think we're back to the parking structure. And
All right. So I had a couple takeaways from the discussion at the last commission meeting, and I'll just kind of go over them. First was a discussion about, has there been a parking study? Someone brought up there was one. So I did some research, and in February of 2016, the Gibson Consulting Group did a parking study, and that was in order to build the 850 space garage that's adjacent to the spa casino. That's entirely focused on the Agua Caliente project. In 2019, Oakview commissioned a study by the Mobility Group, and that was to examine traffic and parking for the arena.
Yeah.
So the two parking studies have both been focused on the two Indian projects, and I was not able to find any parking study that was done by the city in general. So nothing there.
All right. And my
another
recollection, Jim, is that, and Patrick, maybe you can check with Flynn on that the city was going to do one, and it was pulled. This would have been, I think, in late 2018, and then it was pulled, or sometime in 2018 or 2019, and then that was pulled when the arena project was announced, and I haven't heard it coming back. So maybe that's part of the general plan discussion, but maybe Patrick, you can find out from Flynn, and we can discuss that briefly at when you convene us, whatever. Maybe it's being done in connection with the general plan update. But there was one that was planned and then was pulled when the arena project was announced.
Well, Sandra Garrett brought up some, a lot of discussion about neighborhood parking and basically a Pandora's box of stuff. I mean, there's some valid concerns, but what I was going to suggest is revising my comments to say that our recommendation would be the Sustainability Commission recommends the city consider implementation of paid parking. And then I was going to say, with some portion of the funds to be used for pedestrian amenities and bike amenities. And I might also add, if necessary, and a longer term parking study. I wouldn't want the fee parking to be predated by a parking study, because that could take forever. But I would be happy to recommend a parking study as part of the use for part of the funds that come out of it. But that's only if you guys think it's necessary.
Okay, so you're going to come up with it. Let me just put that down. So basically, pilot project.
So it'd be implementation of paid parking on a trial basis at the downtown lot and at Indian Canyon, with some portion of funds to be used for bicycle and pedestrian amenities. People brought up, and it says that people are happier paying the fees if they know it's going to something that's tangible. And although if you're parking, I don't think you want to really pay for a bike path. So I'm not sure how we'd word it, but.
Okay. All right, so let me just write this down, then you can look once I do the thing, but basically.
Okay, thank you.
Implementation of a paid parking pilot project with funds to be used for bike and pedestrian and funding a long-term parking study.
There you go.
You'll tweak it when I send out the draft report today or tomorrow. Okay.
I think the only other thing that Carl brought up was that the merchants are going to be upset. And I mean, I'm thinking at $1 an hour, we're talking, if you go out to dinner, it's $3 for parking. If you're spending $100 for dinner, I think locals will, and the good thing about having this parking lot is locals and employees won't park there because it won't be free anymore. So they'll park in other places. Whereas people coming from out of town will have a guaranteed spot where they're much more likely of finding parking. So I don't know if I really want to even address that here, but I thought about it and I couldn't really think of anything too concerning at that level.
Okay. Obviously, that's something that, Patrick, you'll need to, discuss with the Main Street folks at some point, if this gets legs, beyond the commission vote. But anyway, so Jim, you'll work on a formal proposal because it was a discussion item, but you'll come up with a motion for the proposal and a motion for the December meeting. Commission meeting.
Yeah, based on what I just said about what you just typed in about the trial barista lot, and then the general plan would be the transition to fee-based parking in the downtown core. So I don't want to add a whole lot. I want to leave as much flexibility as possible and keep it short and sweet. So unless we want to add to it at the meeting, I'm not going to come up with something too long.
Okay, all right. I'll type that in, and then you'll tweak it when I send out the draft report.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so DC update, not much since the last commission meeting. I will follow up to see, I expect, but I didn't see anything on the website, so I'll follow up and report back at the full commission meeting about when the dynamic pricing is actually going to be implemented. I think the authorization is beginning today, but there was nothing on the website about that, and obviously that's going to need a fairly robust communication once that's implemented. And also, I believe, and I'll confirm that also for the December 15th commission meeting, hopefully there should be at least one project for final approval at the DC board meeting, which is on the 3 weeks from yesterday. So that's on the 21st. So it's after our commission meeting, but hopefully they'll be in advance enough to take at least one of the projects to board approval. And I've sent to Katie the staff report, which was on the November, I think it was 10th, with a 12th. We made November 12th council meeting, but it was pulled until December 10th on the community workforce agreement. I just let Katie know that that's a potential. DCE is not officially part of it, but the extent that Palm Springs would be getting whatever energy, I asked her to check with Jeff and see if that's something that they, at least on a policy basis, they could be considered by the board in the contract, so that whatever DC does is consistent with requirements for Palm Springs for its own agreement. So I that was just a heads up to Katie to let her know that that was under discussion and to liaise with Jeff on that.
David, do you have any sense where Palm Desert or Cathedral or Palm Desert is with regard to getting on board more? I think they need to make a decision, don't they, to decide if they're going to get on board.
They need to decide. That was discussed, if you recall, I think at the last DC board meeting. I think it may have been Councilmember Jonathan of who's the Palm Desert representative to the DC board. So they need to make a decision. They meeting the Palm Desert City Council, because that would be the appropriate body to decide really in the first couple of months, let's say the first quarter of 2021, whether they want to launch in 2022 for municipal. And of course they would have flexibility of either renewable, 100% carbon-free like Palm Springs, or just, the Desert Saver product. That would be a decision for them to make, but they have to make that decision in the next couple of months, because if so, it has to be included in the resource adequacy filing with the CPUC for 2022, and that needs to be made, I think, probably by June. This past year, CPUC diverted to September 1 because of COVID, but I think the usual deadline is either June 1 or July 1. So I haven't heard anything that sort of might happen, which way they may be leaning, but they have a narrowing window to make a decision one way or the other. I also, we'll see what happens. There'll be at least one new member. I think just one new member of the Palm Desert City Council who'll be sworn in, who was just elected last month. Will be sworn in the next couple of days to see sort of where they might go in terms of, they want to do that or remain, whether they launch or not, or whatever. I haven't heard the sort of, we're going to pull out the way, Cathedral City will be out officially on July 1 of 2021. That decision's been made, and I haven't heard that it's going to be revisited between now and then. So that's where things are for those two cities. You can have a single city CCA if that should happen, but for the moment that's not sort of the current plan. Whatever, I think that Palm Desert remains interested, and we are focused, as I mentioned, we, meaning the Community Advisory Committee, is focused on low to no cost energy conservation and promotion projects for the, and those would apply for all three cities. Certainly for Palm Desert, going forward. So
Hey, David,
yeah, go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
Is there anything on the agenda item about the code and changes that are on the appendix to the agenda?
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Jim, for bringing that up. That is to some degree part of the sorry about that, the climate action roadmap, and I skipped about that. So thank you very much. So let me just briefly update that, and I'll go back to add that to the climate action roadmap. So there are a bunch of webinars that are going on in the next 2 weeks. I'll see where I put this in the agenda. It's sort of this, and then the next agenda item, which is agenda items for December Commission items. So the Energy Commission is holding a bunch of webinars on the 2022 code in the next 2 weeks, and I'll report back on those. There's also a commissioner workshop on SB 100, which is the roadmap, the state roadmap for getting to 100% renewable energy by 2045. And upping the RPS standards, so really moving to decarbonization. So there's a whole bunch of webinars. What I did was just sort of an interim basis, is that I included some data. So what you see and what I included in the agenda materials is just some additional data that I got, in particular from participating in the state reach codes working group. And the two main changes on that were, first, I added some information, just a detail about where the numbers sort of come from, and the fact that it does include net present value and discount rates and utility increases. And so I just wanted to show that when they're calculating the cost benefit ratio, that it includes a lot of sort of, under the hood calculations, in particular financing costs, because that was an issue that came up when Lisa and I, now Council Member Middleton, then Planning Commissioner, were looking at the solar mandate, and I had to include sort of financing costs. So that was one change. And the other change, Jim, was from a filing from Edison, Southern California California Edison, that they're looking in terms of heat pump water heaters for a sort of additional baseline allowance. So if you get a heat pump water heater, you'll have sort of an additional sort of level 1 allowance, so that it wouldn't increase. You'll have higher electric bills, but lower gas bills because you're using electricity
Okay.
as opposed to gas. So they're looking at that. And also there's a commissioner workshop, again, Energy Commission, I believe that's next Tuesday, on demand response for all of these fancy sort of, appliances and hot water heater, heat pump water heaters are the kind of thing that you could basically charge during the day when you've got your solar, and then you've got hot water at night. So
Yeah, I saw that Edison announced a tariff that was more amenable if you had heat pump water heaters or heating and electric vehicle as well. So that's
yeah,
handy. I do have 2 questions about it that maybe you could find out when you go to the next webinar.
yeah.
Well, one of them wasn't about this, but I thought if you're doing a new construction or a retrofit, we're requiring solar, but if they sign up for 100% renewable tariff, does that preclude them from having to put solar on their roof, or did we not decide on that?
Well, that's part of the 2 things, which is to say what the energy code requires, and then potential reach code, which is referred to in the climate action roadmap, and in particular the staff report, and that's pending council direction. So
Okay.
what the base requirement of the energy code is that all new residential construction starting this past January requires solar. So for example, Miralon and things like that, as they're pulling things in the new Cody Place from Toll Brothers, they all have to get, those are 2020 building permits, so they all have to get solar. There is an exemption that if you go to something called community solar as approved by the Energy Commission, you could avoid that. But the only one that's been approved is SMUD, that basically is a Sacramento Municipal Utility District, and they got through the Energy Commission. It was quite controversial that basically they can build a whole bunch of solar farms around Sacramento, and a new project developer can sign up with SMUD. I am not aware that Edison is proposing anything that's similar.
Maybe that, I grid solar is so much cheaper than rooftop solar. Maybe if that was a DCE product, but I don't know how you could commit to 5 years of being on a DCE product that was 100% local solar, but it just seems a more cost-effective way to go for a lot of these guys. It would be nice if we could accommodate that. I'll leave it up to you to see if you see any options.
That's
just a
not,
thought.
yeah, I'm not sure whether theoretically, I don't think it's cost effective for at least for DCE on a standalone basis to go through that level of community solar. I will say, however, that the requirements that the SMUD, I wouldn't say it wouldn't be there. One of the potential code changes for 2022 is to refine the community solar exemption, because SMUD was able to drive it probably further than a lot of people at the commission thought, is that they sort of got commission approval for utility grade solar wearing a hat of community solar, and I don't think that's what the commission had in mind. So
Got it. So
I won't say no, because it is an issue. It's probably better to wait to see what the Energy Commission comes up with, because there would be that possibility of something that really is community solar. For example, a solar farm that DC could build, up at the, at the airport or underneath the wind farms. And then they would have to get Energy Commission approval to say that would be the equivalent of rooftop solar, and that would be for new construction. So
it sounds to me like what you hit on is that the utilities it's on their radar. So that means there's someone at the utilities that are trying to make this an option, which makes sense to them because they could keep more customers in a solar product without having them build more rooftops. So I just want the option to be there. It's just more cost effective for people to do. So That's
The
my
option,
personal one.
yeah, the option is there under the energy code. For the moment, only SMUD has gotten, but it requires Energy Commission approval, which was a fairly complicated process, and only SMUD has done that. And as I said, I think the commission is going to tighten the requirements for the 2022 code. That's part of the something that they announced. I don't have the details yet, but I expect they would do that. So I'll put that in, Jim. That's a fair point, but it's probably better to wait to see what the Energy Commission comes up with, and then DCE could see whether that's something that they could consider. I have long sort of discussed with DCE of the possibility of the community solar project.
Or for the, I think we have an option in there for major retrofits requiring solar. We may consider that as part of our reach codes to say that's an option, is through DCE's 100% program. So I don't know, just for you to think of.
And that's also, I don't think well, that's a possibility for the reach code, but yeah, you could say is that you're committed to stay on DCE's carbon free. So that's, you know, that would also.
Okay, well, I'll let you think on that a little bit. That was just something that I noted. And the other thing too, I'm still grappling with this, and maybe you can reach out. I actually talked to Misty Bruceri about it, and she agreed with me, is that currently there's no real way to use a heat pump to heat a jacuzzi or a pool. So, and where it would come up is if you required all new construction to be 100% electric, then technically they wouldn't be able to heat their pool. So I'm wondering what some options are with that. Currently, heat pumps, pool heaters only go up to 140,000 BTUs.
Yeah.
Our pool heater is 400,000, and they don't really work below 50 degrees. So they might work in coastal communities, but I just have a little disconnect between how do we go all electric, and if you build an all electric home but you still run gas for the pool, I'm not sure how what the answer is or how we solve that problem, but you're gonna get some pushback with people heating pools and having spas if we go that route.
Yeah, Santa Monica, that is referred to as sort of one of those out there things. Santa Monica does require it, but I noted in the, I think it's in the staff report, or I think one of the, in some of the other materials that I included, I think is another chart that requires a lot more research. And what I heard in part, I think, of the Santa Monica discussions is that, you know, if that goes forward, I would research it more, is that in Florida, they do use the market in Florida is for electric, you know, heat pool heaters. Here in California, that's clearly not the case. And
it's a coastal community.
Industry is opposed to it. So,
a coastal community like Santa Monica, it might work, but in a high desert where it drops into the 40s on occasion for a good chunk possible in the winter, it's a little more tougher to make it work. So
now
I don't know what the answer is.
I would say that all of the all electric requirements in the energy code only apply to what's inside your building. So an all electric house and all of these with the exception of Santa Monica, all of the in particular Bay Area cities that require an all electric house under their reach codes, none of them discuss the pool. So if you have a pool, you would still be able to get a gas connection for that pool. Santa Monica is the only one that has put an electric requirement for pools. And I've suggested, kind of along the lines of what you said to Misty, is that if we want to look at that, that requires a lot more research, pretty much on the state, you know, at the state level, because that's a heavy lift for just a small city like ours to look into.
I do, however, like your requirement for solar hot water. And when I worked in Hawaii, that became a statewide requirement that people all have solar hot water on their house. So I think that's a good idea, but there's just a little bit of conflict with some of the other parts. So just keep your eyes open if you see anything that might affect desert communities and pool heating.
Yeah,
please.
That's fine. I can't picture, as I said, there's a lot of stuff that's out there just to let council know what the various policy options are. This one in particular would require a lot of additional research And I already know that there would be substantial opposition from the pool community, pool and spa sort of industry, because they've already made that clear in their comment letters to the Energy Commission. So
Right.
you know,
Well,
I,
as long as our council is aware that the pool issues may be something that's going to come up. with that, so.
it's not one that I would prioritize.
Right. It's low priority.
As I said, I don't think as I said, there's a lot of issues with it, and I would not necessarily prioritize that for, for council action.
Thank you.
But it's a fair, it's a fair issue to raise, and I have asked Misty and the others to sort of, if they want something to happen, they should look at it they need to do more research on a statewide basis, because the only folks are Santa Monica for the moment. So I'm sorry.
I have an invite out to Misty and her wife to come stay with me when COVID's over, and she's excited.
Okay, great.
So I'll let you know.
All right, that's fine. We've got the monthly calls on first Thursday of the month, so there'll be another one that's coming in 2 days, and hopefully I'll have a chance to meet her, because she's very much a leader in the sort of the Reach Coach group. So thank you, Jim, for doing that. Probably Patrick, this is just sort of way I said I'll sort of figure out how to do it. So there's a whole bunch of webinars going on, and I'll include an update in the commission meeting on that, and reflect on where things are with the Energy Commission in the next 2 weeks. And then Patrick, you'll just, we don't have a heavy agenda with this. You'll just update the council in particular on, on what's going on with things on the basically we'll see the EV chargers will be discussed, Ghd Inventory, that'll also be there, and then Jim, you'll have a proposal for the commission for the meeting. So those are, I think, the key items, agenda items for that. And I guess Jim, Patrick, you'll put on sort of, whether it's old or new business, but Jim's proposal would be a separate agenda item for the December commission meeting.
Yes.
Okay, and then I'll update my bullet points, or maybe I'll contribute a little bit on there, but I'll do the DCE update. And I'll mostly be giving an update on the webinars, and that's probably about it. And then also, Patrick, you'll do a whatever update on report back on our convening meeting on the ad hoc committee on the general plan.
Yeah.
All right.
One more question.
Sure.
Did anybody get a new electric vehicle this week?
No, not this week.
Okay. Oh, come
3 to
on, you gotta get it.
Yes. So, no, not yet.
Okay. Keep driving that Bolt.
No. I got a little, I did get a couple new tires on the Volt just to make sure that they didn't ding me on the trade-in. So I did that. So,
Okay, you're almost there.
yes. So
they'll eventually get some in with the racing stripes and the flames over on the hood. So
right.
just keep
I
being patient.
can't wait around for that though. All right.
All right, that's it for me. This isn't a detailed agenda, and I was able to take some notes as we were talking. So I'll have a draft later today, or probably by tomorrow at the latest, on this meeting.
Right.
Okay, and Patrick, no changes. Well, you'll see the report, but no changes on the last sort of items, because I think can you take a look at, Patrick? You'll see the drafts on the budget for the potential fiscal impact, so you can update those numbers if necessary. So I'll let you look at those. They're the same as I've had in the previous reports, but you just send me a markup if those need to be updated.
Okay.
The data for that.
Wait,
Okay.
is the next meeting on the 8th or the 15th?
Commission meeting on the 15th, 2 weeks from today, usual
Yeah, the 15th.
Thursday.
I'm sorry, I didn't have it.
And then the next committee meeting is the first Tuesday of January, which is the 5th this year.
Okay. Thank you, David.
I keep that already, that's already there so that we've announced that you will be over soon. Good riddance. Okay. All right. That's it for me. So the committee will be adjourned until Tuesday, January 5th at 10:30 a.m.
Great. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
All
Bye,
right. Thanks a
Daniel.
lot. Talk to y'all soon.
Bye.
Thanks. Goodbye. Bye. Thanks. Bye.